opened in 1939, and from what I read, I thought it was actually on this plaque, it was August 1939, which is almost like 65 years ago to the day. This was August the 7th, 2004. And the camp was also opened not only by Japanese man, but a month before we went to war with his fellow country people. So I don't know how well that went down at the time, having Japanese people in the area, but Harry Camilla was a very rich man about here, so I don't suppose it would have bothered him very much. 1992, I used to amaze people because actually I used to mop those stairs. I think I was the first person I ever did it. I remember somebody walking past me one day, they're kind of slightly sort of East End of London accent, and he sort of thanked me for doing it, and I thought, well, who are you? The who turned out to be Sir Freddie Pontin himself, and I didn't realise that's who it was because I'd never seen a picture of him. Most people, this is where their holiday began, and looking at the state of the place now, as I mentioned earlier, it's like where there is rehearsed that scene from Home Fools and Horses when they tried to bring down a chandelier. When clothes consult for security. It's a sign I never actually saw all the time I was here. Somebody's left that here, and it's sort of recently obviously another sign sold you beer as they gave your keys to your shower. Through here it's going to bring back a lot of memories because this is the hall room up through these doors. That little door there is where we used to go upstairs and get a meagre pittance that we read through a little hole in the window. These signs have been here since at least 1994. There's Uncle Jeff Ree as a clown Dolphini. As he once said, I bet you thought I was Jason Donovan because he was in Joseph's Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat at the time. Eddie Burke, who was doing stuff on stage, which Paul McKenna, when he went on television, claimed he'd never seen anything like it before, to which we thought, oh yes we have. Susan Mon, I've got a picture taken with her, or as I used to call her, Susan Moon, because every week she complained about the sound system. This is one of the most familiar parts to everybody in the camp. Every, think it was a Friday, you stuck your hand in here and in return you got some pittance of a wage for your hard end work. This again was one of the assistant manager's offices. I think it was David Beddoes in '92. And it was also Jason White, and there was Jonathan Sharp in the seniors office here. I can't remember which was which. And there's the cat. Way down outside. This, I remember, was Jonathan Sharp's office when he was assistant manager here for about, I think, the last 2 years of this camp's existence. We still have a resident in the shape of a feline friend. Hello. And more of the same. This is where all the cash was sorted out and all the business was done in the camp. Barrow Inverness in the distance on Moan Island. Top of the Tudor Bar. When I walked here you could see the whole of those lampposts. One of the biggest attractions that was here by far was this, the duck pond. Every year we used to see a new brood of ducks and people used to watch them grow, whatever. I remember one year I was here, I think it was in '93, a swan landed in here, and the only concern that the manager had was, has it got the key or booked in yet? One of the problems the swan had was getting back out, because like the aircraft, swans take an awful lot more space to take off than they do to land, and it took several attempts before the swan finally got out of here. There's also people used to try and swim across it, which was rather difficult because it's only about 2 feet deep. You also had risks banging your head off the rocks in the bottom of it. And again, like when we were here 10 years ago, there wasn't so many bushes then, you could actually see right all the way around this thing, but obviously it's been allowed to overgrow and Tarzan wouldn't look at a place walking through here. This was your world for the season. One thing that always amazed me, they only ever put one socket, which to me encourages fires. They had bunk beds in here, a single one through here, and they'd one through the back. The room was so short, every bunk bed had to have the legs have a little notch cut out of them so as it would fit in the room properly. This is number 3. I don't know of anybody in particular who should stay here, but they've left one of their drawings behind, which is quite pretty, I'm sure, up on the wall there. We might find the person who actually lived here and we'll get the DVD. This is a rather infamous number 6. In 1991 there was a boy, Tommy or Tom or something his name was, he came up from Kitchener Lonsdale, got himself a job, and sadly he went to bed with a cigarette and nobody knew a thing about it until the glass hit the road. And unfortunately the chalet as well as himself was pretty much destroyed. In 1993 there was also a fire here in one of the blocks where about 6 chalets were badly damaged, at least one of them was destroyed because all sorts of stories started like a heater fell off the wall to underwear getting dried on the heater and that caught fire and whatever. Actually, like I said before, I'm surprised there wasn't any more fires because you've only got one socket. And people were bringing like deep fat fryers and radios and hair dryers and making up all sorts of little concoctions with adapters and things so that they could have a half decent light. Whilst I lived here in 1992, I can't remember all the different chalets I lived in the 3 years I was here. I'm almost certain number 24 was one of them. Number 26, I'm almost certain was the first one I lived in. I'm not 100% certain. Number 29 down at the end, or, sorry, number 30 down at the end, I know I lived in. Number 29, my dear friend Melanie Coe used to sing like Mariah Carey, or try to, but the only resemblance between Mariah Carey and Melanie Coe was her initials.
Number 31.
This one here I know was definitely my chalet number 31, next door was Melanie's. Again, one thing you never lacked was a rather stunning view. I know there's quite a lot of heat haze out there, but that's the Yorkshire Dales. And then you come round, you get Lancashire, and then as you turn to your left, you get Cumbria. One of the things I enjoyed about working as a cleaner, even though people sort of humbled it and rubbished it at times, no pun intended, was I got to meet lots of people, be it like emptying their ashtrays, clearing glasses, tidying up chairs, whatever. One place that really shaped my character because I got to work with all different ages of people and from all walks of life and all over the country. Down there to the left was the restaurant where I had many a happy time. It was amazing some of the people I got to meet and I'm still friends with yet, some very dear friends who worked in that wee building down there. Most of my fondest memories come from working in this place is in the restaurant. Especially when it came to the block booking weekends, people like a Mr. Trevor Daniels, brother of magician Paul, who complained that he got his soup at 1752 and by 1753 it was cold. His words, not mine. And those metal plated doors takes you through into the kitchen where people either walked through or if it was your birthday you were leaving you get carried through and possibly get made a bit of a mess of. I've obviously made a bit of use of the carpet as well, judging for what's here. I've taken away all the bays, they're possibly in another end of the country. They were very unpopular with some of the girls who worked in there because you had to empty them physically into a bucket of boiling hot water. I think it was in 93 or 94. One of the girls from Newcastle got her foot severely burnt because the bucket either overflowed or she slipped with a bucket of boiling water. This place at one point was believed held about 2,000, the sort of population of the camp, which you can have to imagine. And it was also, especially on a summer's night, very difficult working in this side because the sun come through the windows and get magnified and it was like a sauna, whereas round the other side all year round it was nice and cool. I guess we obviously can't forget to mention that is the ship, the Berengaria. I don't know exactly how Cunard got its name, but the original Berengaria was built by the Germans and called by the Imperator, pinched by the Americans and sold to Cunard. but that's by the by. Over the years, this place did see quite a few famous faces. When I was here, I met Bert Weedon and didn't know it was Bert Weedon. Apparently taught a wee band called The Shadows how to play the guitar. There was Susan Mon, who I also mentioned earlier. I have a friend called Jackie who's a member of the group, and she's got a book from 1949. And in it, was a 34-year-old Norman Wisdom. Norman, hopefully if he's still alive next year, will be 90 on February the 4th. He's one of my heroes. And also in 1972, someone we lost last year, Bob Monkhouse, appeared on stage in there. It has one thing that I noticed in the book, when the place was being constructed. In fact, it was rebuilt, I think, around about the 1940s, just after the war. Everything that went to make up this place came from the northwest of England. These days you would search around the world to find everything you need for a building. The only thing that didn't come from the northwest of England that was in there was the light fittings. They came from Glasgow for some reason. One thing we just found, I forgot was here, is blue coats through the years have painted their names on here. Now it says 1987 up at the top there, but I don't know if they're all in 1987, because only Sally ever knew who worked here was Sally Kingston, who's still a friend of mine yet. We've got Col, who was the chief hostess round here in yellow. She was chief hostess in 92 and 93, and then it was Theresa Ryan in 94. I've got Spike, I recognise that name from somewhere. And who else have we got?
Richard?
I don't think Richard, I'm not sure about. Amanda, I'm sure it was an Amanda when I was here, and Jane. So whether these are actually all 1987 or whether they go back, sorry, even further forward, into the early 90s, I'm not sure.
I think that's about.
That's a boy you can really see that. Lenny, I don't know what that is. That's what people. One of the things they put up here in 1992 was this metal fence. Now before it, there used to be a sort of fiberglass wall on wood. And in 1992, I think it was, when I was a tractor driver in here, I used to have to drive along the back there. You can't get in there now, the other side of the fence, because it's so overgrown. But when they took the wall away, they took it down to the main car park, and they decided to set fire to it to get rid of it. But what they didn't realise was there was little tiny metal particles in the wall. And we got a phone call from Blackpool Airport saying, what is this large metal object hovering above this holiday camp? It turns out the tiny metal particles got together and made it look like one big solid item up in the sky, as if it was like a flying saucer above the camp. I also remember driving through here in the tractor, tried to get through here, and it was a wet day, and I took the corner here in the tractor and I had to reverse to come back through it, and I almost slid down off the end of it in the tractor. It was pretty frightening because the tyres on the thing were meant for driving in grass, not wet slippy concrete. But then if I'd slid down there I could always drive towards the show fields and back. Here we're now getting to the sort of bit they can't knock down. It's a Tudor barn. This bit in here I don't know what they used it for originally, but the Pontins people used it for holding things like bouncy castles and possibly trampolines. I remember one year gardeners and maintenance and everywhere else they could find was to try and bring down a bouncy castle, which was also full of water at the time as well. Holding it down as best we could and tried to get through that little gap down there. And one of the gardeners shouted, "After 3, 1, 2, 3. And then my friend Adam McIntyre decided to go 4, 5, 6. Now it wasn't particularly funny, but at the time, because I was so stressed, we just couldn't work for laughing. 1670s, it's still fairly whole. It was used as a nightclub for blue coats and entertainment staff, or just the staff in general, I'm not sure. There's still actually a bar in there with the pump heads on it. Used as a morgue for any soldiers that didn't come back alive. Over here, what's left of the Derwent chalets, and the one that sticks out more than any of the other ones, the one with a big hole in the window. I know there's quite a few of them, but the one with that's like a little sort of duck-shaped thing, a little rubber ducky shape.
I got it.
That's number 6. In 1993, when we had the Star Trek convention, that was used as a sort of green room for the members of the Next Generation cast that turned up. So in there, you had Marina Sirtis, Richard Arnold, and one or two other people used to use that, and I used to have to look after that room and make sure there were enough toilet roll, enough cans of lemonade and whatever to drink. So it's got a little bit of celebrity status despite the state that it's in now. So Marina Sirtis lived here for one night, so it's believed. She's actually quite a small woman. I've seen her on television, but she looks bigger. and her hair is a wig, and she doesn't speak the way she does on the telly. She actually sounds like something out of EastEnders. And she made a point of telling us that when she was on stage.